Howdy folks, welcome back to another World of Tanks replay with the mighty Jingles. Today we're in the garage. We're having a bit of a retro cruise lately with a lot of lower tier and mid tier vehicles, and we're in the garage with the StuG III German tier 5 tank destroyer. All of the tier 5 tank destroyers are good machines. The S35 is a good machine, the T49 is good, the M10 Wolverine, well, a lot of people don't like it, but I think it's a good machine. The SU-85 is a great machine. And here we are, the German tier 5 tank destroyer, the StuG III. This is a fantastic little machine. Now the German tank destroyer line, how can I put this? The Panzerjäger is pretty good. The Marder is fantastic. The Hetzer, I liked the Hetzer, very stealthy little TD with a decent gun. Then we get to tier 5, we have the StuG, and the StuG's great. And then we get to tier 6 and it all goes horribly, horribly wrong. The Jagdpanzer IV. It's not very good. And the German tank destroyers, once you get to tier 5, enjoy it while it lasts. Because after this, I mean the Jagdpanther's okay. But the Jagdpanzer IV is just awful, and you've got to, it's just, yeah. So enjoy tier 5 when you get there. Don't be in any hurry to skip through tier 5 with 3 experience. Seriously, you will regret it. Enjoy it while it lasts. And the StuG is a very enjoyable vehicle. Let's check the stats out. None of the tier 5 tank destroyers have a lot of health. And the StuG, I think the StuG has the most health of a lot of them, and it only has 350. Let's just check that out. So there's the StuG. May as well compare the others while we're here as well. There's the SC35, and the Wolverine, and the T49, and the SU-85. So here they are. Crazy Ivan. The Yanks. There's the Frenchie. And there's the German, and they're all over the place. So yeah, 350 hit points, 330, 340, 340, 350. Yeah, it's got the joint top amount of hit points along with the SU-85. But the guy with the lowest health only has 330. It's not much of a difference. They're all low health machines. It is one of the lightest. T49 obviously being the lightest with its amazing top speed. Closely followed by the S35. In fact, this sits slap bang in the middle as far as weight goes. It does have a powerful engine though. In fact, it has almost the most powerful engine out of all of them. It's only beat by the SU-85. But the SU-85 weighs more. And that means the StuG can actually get up to a pretty good top speed, 40 kilometers per hour. And it reaches that top speed without too many problems. The SU-85 is the fastest. Well, sorry, it's not the fastest. The T49 is the fastest, 61 kph. The Wolverine's pretty quick as well, 48 kph. SC35 is the slowest, with the SU-85 hitting 55. The StuG can still do a respectable 40 km per hour, and it is very quick, even if it isn't the fastest, because it hits that 40 kph very, very easily with that 440 horsepower engine and the 20-ton weight. You'll find it likes to climb hills as well. I mean, you know, relatively speaking, it doesn't slow to a stop like the SC35 does. It's really, really mobile machine. Now, one thing that it really, really does have going for it is the fantastic traverse speed. This thing turns and points that gun faster than any of the other tier 5 tank destroyers. It really, really does turn on a dime, and it can pivot turn. It can turn on the spot. So if you're parked behind some cover and you want to turn around, you don't have to move backwards and forwards and potentially expose yourself to face in another direction. Armour-wise, believe it or not, the StuG actually has, and it certainly doesn't feel like it when you're driving it, but it actually has the best armour at the front anyway. 80mm, with the T49, unsurprisingly, being so small and fast, coming in with the worst armour. But that 80mm of armour, it's not the whole front of the hull, and we'll come to that when we look at it in closer detail in the garage. Gun traverse speed, very, very good, but they're all, well, they're not all very, very good. 44 degrees per second, the gun traverses within the mounting very, very quickly, as quickly as the SU-85. Certainly better than the other three. And the view range, well, this is kind of where it gets let down a bit. It only has 310 metres of view range. And you're going to find this is the case with a lot of the low-profile tank destroyers, especially the ones that don't have open tops. The view range isn't good. It's nowhere near as bad as the SU-85's 280 metre view range, but it's comparable, 310 metres. Superior German optics account for the difference. But the other guys have far, far better view range than either of these two. Certainly better than the StuG. Definitely better than the SU-85. And that's because they're open-top vehicles. Yeah, I know from looking at that, it looks like the T-49 is not an open-top vehicle. It is. That's just a disposable flap cover that was sticking on the top of the turret just to protect the crew from artillery from shrapnel. It's actually open-topped, just like the Wolverine is. So that's how it stacks up against the others. Now I was talking about that 80mm of armour. Technically, yeah, it does have 80mm of armour at the front. And I don't know exactly which air. I know it's not all of it. These bits up here are not 80mm thick. This bit here is not 80mm thick. But these are kind of small target areas, and they are very well sloped, certainly in parts. And so you can get bounces. Was what I guess what I'm trying to say with a StuG. You certainly shouldn't count on it. You should count on not being there when they start shooting at you. But your armour can save your ass. Just don't count on your armour saving your ass, because it, as always happens, when you really, really need it, it will let you down. Now, the gun selection on the StuG is very, very good. The first two guns, the stock gun and the first immediate upgrade, not that great. That 75mm StuG III L43 is it's not very accurate at all. Anything over 0.4 accuracy is bad. That's bad. Quick aiming time, penetration sucks, damage is very average. Good rate of fire though. But that's the stock gun. We don't expect it to be any good. Next one up is the Pak 39 L48. It's getting there. Still got a good rate of fire, still got good aiming time. The accuracy still sucks, but it's getting better. Penetration is okay, the damage is okay. And then we get the two, which, well, to me are the only really two interesting choices, and that's the 105mm Derp Gun and the StuG 42 L70. Now the 105 it's not a 105mm gun like the S35 gets. That's a proper 105mm tank gun. This is a derp gun. It's a high explosive howitzer. And I had so much fun playing the StuG with that gun before the high explosive damage mechanic nerf, because it would almost always do in the region of 410 damage, and that was enough to one-shot everything at tier 4 or below, and some things at tier 5 or below. Well, that got a good nerf, and yeah, probably rightfully so. And now if you're shooting anything with a bit of armour on it, with this gun, it's never going to do that full amount of damage. And because it's a howitzer, it has a slow rate of fire, it has lousy accuracy, 8.3 rounds per minute, 0.53 accuracy, bad, and crappy penetration with the HE shell. But, you know, if you can pick things that are lower tier than you, or lightly armoured like other tank destroyers, artillery, this gun will wreck them, no problem. On the plus side, it does have quite a good aiming time, 1.7 seconds. But the only real choice for me in this thing is the 75mm StuG 42 L70. This is kind of, well, it's pretty much the tank destroyer version of the Panzer IV's incredibly good gun. And here are the stats. 13.33 rate of fire. It fires very quickly. Penetration, pretty good, 138. Just to put this into perspective, that's better penetration than the German Tier 6 medium tank's best gun, and a decent amount of damage. Generally speaking, we're looking at more penetration and more damage than most of the Tier 5 medium tanks in this 75mm tank destroyer gun, and it's very accurate, 0.33, and the aiming time is really, really good, 1.7 seconds. So this, for me, is the gun to use on the StuG. If you're using the 105mm and you're enjoying it, crack on. You know, carry on doing what you're doing. But myself, I'll take accuracy over derp most of the time, and so that's why I use this gun. Now, equipment, well, the rate of fire is very good, but better rate of fire is always better, so I always, on any tank that will take it, fit a medium caliber tank gun rammer. You really don't need an enhanced gun lane drive in this thing. The aiming time is very good anyway. And that kind of leaves your other options. Well, improved ventilation works on everything, except for open top. Some of the open top vehicles can't actually fit improved ventilation because they're open top vehicles. Why would you need ventilation? But on vehicles that can fit it, it's usually a good choice to go for. However, this is a very, very low profile vehicle, like the SU-85. It's very stealthy. And I like to use it by getting into good positions early, lying in wait, taking shots, and then getting the hell out of there. And to make that sort of tactic work, you pretty much have to use camouflage net and binoculars. Definitely binoculars on this thing, because the view range isn't fantastic. So 310 meters, well, it's going to give you what? It's going to give you an extra, say, 85 meters. It takes it up to nearly a 400 meter view range. Indispensable, in my opinion, on this thing. Crew skills, well, camo. Oh, excuse me, I need to sneeze. And I'm back. Sorry about that. Yeah, I've just, generally speaking, I go with camo. On tank destroyers that have a decent camo value, and I'm not talking about things like the Ferdinand or the Jagdtiger here, being able to get that first shot in, and possibly a second shot before you come under return fire, on those occasions where you're spotting your own targets for yourself, not being seen is a lifesaver, and I always take camouflage. So that's the StuG III. Let's see how it does. So here we are. We're on Prokhorovka. It's an assault defend. We're on the defending team, and this was under the old matchmaker in 7.4. As you can see, it's a tier 8 game, and I'm in a tier 5 tank destroyer. And that 75mm gun really doesn't cut it against tier 8 heavies. Under the new matchmaker, against tier 7 heavies, yeah, that 75mm gun does the job. It's good enough. So this is one of the last games that I've played in the StuG under the old matchmaker. Now, on this map and this mode, you are completely at the mercy of your scouts. And when I say scouts, I don't mean your light tanks. You have to get people down off this hill, and I say it over and over and over again. And luckily, in this match, the defensive team were pretty good, and that's really, you don't even need that much to win when you're defending Prokhorovka. You just need to be competent. And so we did get plenty of tanks went down to defend these choke points, which is just a gift to friendly tank destroyers up on the hill. Because if you can keep them out of spot and distance of the tanks on the hill, your entire team can rip into them, with them only being able to return fire at the guys who are closest, i.e. the ones at the choke points.
That's gotta hurt.
Oh, that guy just got pounded. That's like 5 different tanks opened up on him at the same time. And this is why people won't go over the choke points, because the first one over, you know, if the defenders are any good, the first one over these choke points is just a dead man. And that's why nobody wants to be the first one over. And that's why this map and this mode just doesn't work. It's broken. So I'm taking a couple of shots at where that lurver was, hoping he's still dumb enough to have his fat ass poking out. There he is. And there's his little friend, the M6. I'm not exactly certain what they've got in front of them there, so I'm just popping a shot down in case there's some destructible scenery they're hiding behind. And I find the biggest problem with the StuG III is its ammo capacity. It only carries, how many? 36 shells.
Enemy armor is hit. That one didn't go through.
Well, you can see the amount of damage we're doing to that lurver, and how many times we're going to have to hit him to kill him. And in a tier 8 game, it wasn't so much the relatively low damage and, well, the relatively low penetration of the 75mm gun. It was the low ammo capacity and the number of shots you needed to put into these things to kill them. But again, with 7.5, that's not such a problem with the matchmaking tier being limited to tier 7 games.
We didn't even scratch him.
But, you know, there's nothing better for me to shoot at here, so... ooh, juicy target. Oh, too slow. Another juicy target. Rush the shot. Come on. I think all I'm actually seeing here is these guys under the... Oh, no, he's trying to push over now.
Punch right through their armor.
You see, against the tier 8 heavy, and this is why the matchmaker needed changing. You just don't do enough damage. This is a good gun. I mean, I like the 75mm gun on the StuG, but it's got no place in a tier 8 game. It's just not good enough. The SU-85, when it had the 107mm gun, yeah, it could look after itself in a tier 8 game. But the other tier 5 tank destroyers, they really couldn't. Oh, he is so dead. What have we lost? A T-20, an M6 and a T-50. And they've lost some of their heavy hitters. There goes that lurver. He's finally realised that his big fat ass was sticking out from behind that rock and... Oh, hello. Yank pounds a fall. Oh, missed. Oh, he's turning sideways on. Oh, come on, we'll have him, we'll have him, we'll have him. S35CA. Oh, look at that. Look at that boat
Nailed him back.
of a tank. You just can't miss it. Oh, somebody's hitting our T-29. What the hell's that? Okay, looks like we've got things under control. I mean, there's plenty of heavies in the field there providing cover and fire on that choke point, so let's just move around a bit and... Oh, hello. Yeah, completely missed that one. Oof. Big old hit. Okay, that looks like... Yeah, it's these guys in the middle here who we're spotting. So we need to kill them. They are posing a significant threat.
Penetration.
Now from the sides and rear... Oh, we set him on fire! Oh, he's got a fire extinguisher. Well, of course he's got a fire extinguisher. He's driving a German heavy tank. And here you go, I'm about to run out of on-piercing ammo. One shot left. I need to make this count. Well, of course, it doesn't. So I'm down to HE. And this was always the problem in the StuG in tier 8 games. You just run out of ammunition if you survive long enough. I've got 6 shots left, and they're all high explosive. So my contribution to the outcome of this game is coming to an end.
We didn't penetrate their armor. Enemy armor
Look at that, 14 damage.
That one didn't go through. They're hit.
2 shots left. And it really needs to be against something thin-skinned like that Hellcat. I'm trying to blow away that T-28's cover so at least somebody with a better gun than me can hit him. Ah, Hellcat, there he is. Oh, and I missed. Right, I'm out of ammo. And that's what was so frustrating about the StuG in a tier 8 game, because the gun just wasn't good enough to do anything against a tier 8 heavy. And does anybody spot my derp moment here? I've just told the team in chat, I'm out of ammo, I'm going for the cap. Does anybody else see what I'm doing? IS3 saying, capping what? They have no base, noob. Oh yeah. Oops. Dope. And all they have left now is artillery, so, well, I could go and spot them, I suppose. I'm quite fast. No, it looks like other people can do a better job than me of that as well, so that AMX-13 is not going to be in any rush to be spotted. He's probably hiding, scurrying for cover. So yeah, and this was this was essentially the problem that most of the Tier 5 tank destroyers had in Tier 8 games. That they just didn't have the gun to be useful, other than the SU-85, which had that 107mm gun, which could still hurt, and more importantly, dealt a decent amount of damage to Tier 8 tanks. Whereas the 75mm, the 76mm of the Americans, they just weren't good enough. You were good for harassing fire, and that was it. And so 7.5, these Tier 5 tank destroyers are really getting the opportunity to stretch their legs, because they no longer have to face Tier 8 heavy tanks. Where is that artillery? Now, I can't remember exactly how this replay ends, but I've got a very nasty feeling I'm going to find that artillery. And he's going to kill me. Where is it? Where is he? Oh, he's all the way up there. Yeah. I think he does, you know. It's the most ignoble end to a match. Here he comes. Banzai! I'm going for the ram. Oh crap, he's pointing his gun towards me. No! Yeah. Oh god. And all I had to do was stay alive for another 3 seconds as the timer ran out. Oh, what a noob. But it's a 1000 XP game. And that's purely because of the amount of damage that we did. Did we get Confederate? Yeah, we did. We actually got Confederate out of that, which sounds good, but we just weren't doing enough damage to them. What were we shooting at? Tiger II, T-34, Panther, Löwe. You know, aside from the S-35CA and the Jagdpanzer IV, we just weren't doing any damage to these guys. Yeah, we were hitting them, but 36 shots fired. We just totally expended our ammo capacity. And at that sort of ranges as well, where you have to really stay to be safe from return fire, the gun isn't accurate enough to hit. Not at those ranges. So this was the StuG's problem in Tier 8 games. You know, it just couldn't really contribute, and it was the same problem pretty much for the Wolverine and the T-49. The SU-85 was the only one that didn't have this issue. But the next game, 7.5 matchmaker, not a problem. If you'd asked me a month ago what was the best Tier 5 tank destroyer in the game, I would have said, well, I haven't played the T-49 or the M10 Wolverine, but in my experience between the S-35, the StuG III and the SU-85, I would say the SU-85. But that was a month ago. Things have changed. And the reason I would have said the SU-85 was because with the 107mm gun it could defend itself and get kills with relative ease in every game it got thrown into. Now, things are slightly different these days. SU-85 doesn't have that 107mm gun anymore. It has an 85mm gun, which is, in most respects, comparable to this 75mm gun on the StuG III. But it doesn't need the 107mm gun anymore, because it no longer gets into Tier 8 games. And now that the StuG III no longer gets into Tier 8 games, well, I've had a soft spot for this thing for a long time, but that 75mm gun, which is fantastic at Tier 5, good at Tier 6, and pretty decent at Tier 7, it really just didn't cut the mustard at Tier 8 games. But it doesn't get into Tier 8 games anymore. And the SU-85 doesn't have a 107mm gun anymore. So if you ask me today which was the best Tier 5 tank destroyer, well,
Punched right through their armor.
it'd be a tough call. I still haven't played the T-49. I still haven't played the M10 Wolverine. But I wouldn't like to have to choose between the SU-85 and the StuG. You see, prior to patch 7.5, for the StuG to be competitive in a Tier 8 game, which it could get into, it kind of had to use the 105mm howitzer. But then they nerfed, and it was a lot of fun with a 105mm howitzer. Now the SU-85 doesn't get a howitzer, but it didn't need one, it had the 107mm gun. The StuG
Looks like that one went right
kind of needed to use the howitzer in order to be competitive in every game it got into. Unfortunately, then they went and changed the HE damage mechanics, which meant...
That's gotta hurt.
Let me just kill this T1. Yeah. Unfortunately, then they went and changed the high explosive damage mechanics, which meant that the 105mm gun was just... well, it wasn't even good in a Tier 7, let alone a Tier 8 match. And that kind of gave me problems with the StuG, because with the 75mm gun, it just wasn't really good enough in a Tier 8 game. Certainly not to the degree that the SU-85's 107mm gun performed. But we don't get into Tier 8 games anymore. And the SU-85 no longer has a 107mm gun. In fact, the new 85mm gun that it gets performs in most respects just like that.
Armor is damaged.
So that kind of puts the StuG and the SU-85 on a level playing field. And I like that because it means I can enjoy playing my StuG again. And I don't have to use the SU-85 to guarantee a decent match every time I load up a Tier 5 tank destroyer. Now, one of the other things, I mean, look at the size of the aiming reticle. It's minuscule. And this is one of the reasons why I keep saying the M46 Patton Tier 9 medium tank couldn't hit the side of a barn from the inside with its lousy accuracy. And yeah, that's true, but it's the size of the aiming reticle. If a gun has 0.4 accuracy, that's lousy accuracy. But that just tells you how much it's going to deviate within the aiming circle at 100 meter range. Now, if the aiming circle is small enough, it doesn't really matter what the accuracy is or how much dispersion the shell is likely to have within that circle.
Gotcha.
And that's what makes the Patton still a good machine, despite the fact that on paper the accuracy of the gun is crap. It's because, yeah, the shot tends to vary within the aiming circle more than other guns with better accuracy, but the aiming circle's so small it doesn't matter, it's still probably going to hit the target. With the StuG and the SU-85, with the new 85mm gun, you've got that small aiming circle. And it's still accurate within that small aiming circle. They really both are such great guns. My only problem with the StuG, I mean, it's got a great gun, it's very small target, it's fast, it turns really quickly. The gun traverse is not bad. It's very, very stealthy. My only problem with the StuG is the ammo capacity. I won't say often, but I have had games where I have run out of ammunition on this thing. I've just been killing stuff so quickly that the gun just runs dry.
Enemy armor is hit.
Oh, artillery, just you cheeky bastard. Knock my engine out. I'll have you for that.
Target. Got him.
And oh dear, they're all dead. But you can see, in common with all of the Tier 5 tank destroyers, and this is why I think the StuG III kind of edges out the SU-85 just slightly. I only took 2 hits, and they weren't very big hits. If you have a look, there we go. Took 100 and 216, and I got 10% of my health left. All of the Tier 5 tank destroyers, I mean, you saw what I did to that T49, sorry, with my first shot. Left them on 1%. All of the Tier 5 tank destroyers are very, very fragile. And so your biggest defense in them is not getting shot at. And what aids us in not getting shot at? Not getting seen. And the StuG is one of the stealthiest machines out there. And purely for that reason, if you were to ask me now, I mean, if you were to ask me a month ago, what's the best Tier 5 tank destroyer? Well, never played the Americans, but I really like the SU-85. Now, I still really like the SU-85, but if you were to ask me today, what's the best Tier 5 tank destroyer? Well, because none of them have to face Tier 8s anymore, where the StuG 75mm gun, now, with Tier 7 at the most, is a fine gun that can work in every game it gets thrown into. And it is a really sneaky little bugger. I would be inclined to maybe say I like the StuG the most. It doesn't mean I don't like the SU-85, I do, it's great, but I'm just really pleased that I can play this, the StuG III, and not have to worry about whether or not I'm going to get into a Tier 8 game and not be able to reliably damage the top tier tanks on the enemy team, because now you can kill everything thanks to the 7.5 matchmaker if you're driving a StuG. So I'm just happy to be able to drive the thing again and not have to worry about what kind of game I'm going to get into. I've always liked this thing, and it just got a lot better. So that was the StuG III. It's a great Tier 5 tank destroyer. All of the Tier 5 tank destroyers are good fun. And as you can see, what was that? Nearly 1200 XP and 33,000 credits. All of the Tier 5 machines, the medium tanks, not so much the heavies, they're just harder to drive. The medium tanks and the tank destroyers at Tier 5 are fantastic money makers. I mean, 33,000, well, if you're driving around in your Patton or your E50 or your E75 and you're getting 6 kills in a game and walking away with 70,000 credits, that doesn't look like a lot. But what did we actually do here? 4 kills, damage 3, detected 2, and we're only Tier 5 and we're walking away with 33,000 credits. Even without a premium account, you will very rarely lose money on a Tier 5 tank destroyer or medium tank, because the ammunition is as cheap as chips, your repairs cost you nothing, and they all make a profit. So that was the StuG III Tier 5 tank destroyer. One of my favourite machines of all time, and I'm just really happy to be playing it again now that the matchmaker's been rebalanced, and that 75mm gun is good enough in all circumstances now. Hope you enjoyed the replay. Catch you next time.